It is time to turn these into sweet potato fries, and we are going to roast them or bake them, depending on what your oven can do. Now, this is a purple sweet potato, and I did grow it, hence it's extra dirty. It's quite a bit dirtier than what you would get from the grocery store. And purple sweet potatoes, or ube, as they are called in Southeast Asia, I think, they're a little bit difficult to get in the store. Hence, that's why I started growing them. However, these sweet potatoes, see, here's an orange one. You can tell once you start washing the dirt off. These sweet potatoes, both orange and purple, are absolute nutrition powerhouses. Some people will call them superfoods. I suppose they are. Not only can you get great energy out of them with a relatively low glycemic index if you're diabetic, that's something you have to worry about, but also you get a variety of antioxidants and other cancer-fighting chemicals. All right. Now, I am not going to peel these sweet potatoes. That is, in fact, up to you. There are vitamins in the skin, and because these were grown in dirt from my yard, where I did not use any pesticides, I know that it's a decent source of vitamin B12, which is also, good too. It helps to keep the energy high. This is as clean as I'm going to take this. When I brush it, I don't get a bunch of dirt off on my hand. Again, I am using gloves, mostly because when I'm making food, I like to use gloves. But if you are working with purple sweet potatoes, they are a very effective food coloring, and they will turn you purple if you do the work with them barehanded. So if you don't mind being purple and you have clean hands, go ahead and work with them. But if you want to avoid having purple fingers for several hours, wear gloves. If you are not familiar with this substance, parchment paper, you can get it at the grocery store. This is from Sam's Club. It is going to save you so much frustration. It is an oven-safe paper that will keep your stuff from sticking. So, my oven is already preheated, and I will get to chopping these in just a moment. I'm going to take a peek in the oven. I kind of like with the bread, I have another batch going so we can see what we're going toward. These guys have a little bit longer to roast. They're about halfway done. So by the time I put the other ones that we're working on right now in the oven, these will be ready to come out. But that is what we're going for. And I kept them separated by color. You don't have to, but I kept them separated because the purple bleeds into the orange if you mix them. All right, back to our potatoes. I have a decent knife. This one is, it's not my largest knife, but it is a good sized knife, and it is a tall blade. Potatoes, specifically sweet potatoes, are very hard before you cook them, and that's because they're very starchy, and until you heat starches, they're kind of like wood. So it's not super easy to slice an uncooked sweet potato, hence you need a good sized knife that is not going to break easily. So first, and you know what, there's plenty of ways to go about julienning a sweet potato. This is how I choose to do it. I don't like doing it straight on because I don't like the sizing that it gives for the fries at the end of it. So I cut what would be, in fabric terms, it's a bias cut. It's on the angle. And I find the slices at the end of it are a little bit more evenly sized, but you know, sweet potatoes aren't cubes, or they're not perfect in any shape. So you gotta be happy with it being a bit imperfect. That's part of what makes them good. So, working my way through. And this one is gonna be tougher. All right, do you see this right here? On store-bought sweet potatoes, you're not going to have this. This is where I probably hit it with the shovel when I was digging it out. You see that? So it's an imperfection where it basically, the sweet potato goes and builds its own Band-Aid so that the sweet potato does not rot, but the part where it built the Band-Aid or the imperfection is really, really hard. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut that out so I don't keep hitting it as I chop. There we go. Yay, that's much better. Sometimes I go through and check my sweet potatoes in advance for those, but I didn't this time. It's all right. This first slice is the trickiest. And there are, again, everyone develops their own slicing technique. I choose to just power through the first part and using body weight as much as I can to get through, and being very careful to keep fingers out of the way. Now, if you were to do the same type of cutting with a regular potato, it goes through much more easily. And some people do choose to boil their sweet potatoes in advance just to make them a little bit easier to work with. I don't. That's up to you. Okay, so next I have sliced. See how there's a few slices here? It's about half of the potato. You can count them if you want and try and make them perfectly even, but we're gonna cut them all up anyway. So this is where we make our julienne cut. We're gonna cut across and actually make our fries. Okay, so you see how that's discoloring? That's not gonna hurt you. It's not dirt, it's actually oxidation. It is where the part where the bruise was is finally getting exposed to the air and the tissue is oxidizing. It will not happen a lot with a sweet potato because sweet potatoes themselves, whether purple or orange or red or some of the other colors you can get, are high in antioxidants, which is part of what makes them so good for you. It's not just the energy source. It's an awesome energy source because it's got fiber as well as your carbohydrates for energy, itty bitty bit of protein, but the antioxidants in them are the chemicals that once they enter into your body, they go around and find everything that's kind of messed up, anything that's been oxidized, and counteract it. Hence they're called antioxidants. And as our cells break down, whether it is from cancer or from age or from exposure to elements, it is a process of oxidation. That's why, ladies, so many of our beauty products are high in antioxidants. And that's why we're told to, take our vitamins and eat our fruits and vegetables, because you cannot get antioxidants from very many, if any, animal sources. It's from plants that you get those cancer-fighting, age-defying, super cool antioxidant phytochemicals. And there's a whole variety of them. And you can tell they are what give plants their color. So these both have antioxidants, but they have different ones in them because they're a different color. So just like if you looked at red peppers or purple cabbage or green kale, it's different combinations of the antioxidants that give them the different colors. So it's good to eat a variety. You can have your favorites, that's just fine, but this is where eating the rainbow truly is in your best interest. So the purple potatoes, at least the ones that I grew this past summer, the purple ones are even tougher than the red ones for some reason. And it may not be like that. If you can get your hands on purple sweet potatoes, get them. They have a slightly different flavor. And if you like baking, and we can do some of that too, purple sweet potato pies, I love them so much more than I love sweet potato pies. And I love sweet potatoes, but it just tastes better when it's purple. Okay. And that is all my opinion. All right, so this is where, Ah, you see? I'm running into that spot, and that is gonna wreak havoc on my knife. Okay. Look at that. That white part, it's extra starchy, and that is really tough to get through. So if you see, you know, anything like that, just cut it off. Throw it out in your yard when you're done. It's good for your yard. A little tough for you to digest. All right. Yay. You get a little bit of a shoulder workout with this one. I would not recommend trying to use, you know, there's little chopping tools that you can get for trying to help you julienne. I would not recommend them for something like a sweet potato. It is just too hard. If it's got plastic parts on it, that thing will snap. You can save it for soft things. All right, so this is gonna go to the purple pan. There we go. And again, if you really cannot bring yourself to eat the skin, you would want to peel it before you do all of this, but it is nutritious to go ahead and eat it. And when I was first introducing foods like this into the family's diet, I did peel these because I have kids and they're like most kids and not interested in anything but what I say in quotes, the regular kind. And the regular kind of any French fry typically does not include the skin. So, life is a journey, and you can adjust along the way, and I chose to start by peeling. And I'm gonna cut that spot out. I'm not sure how deep it is. I know the sweet potato itself is fine because it's still very firm. When sweet potatoes go bad, they get really soft and squishy and gross, and you know the minute you pick it up that you didn't want to do that. You just go, oh, yeah, that was no good. Oh, and see that end? That's gonna be hard, so we'll take that off. Anything else? I don't think so. Okay. So, sweet potatoes, where we are in agricultural zone 6, grow over the summer. I can't plant new ones until May, and then I take them out right before the first frost, leaving them in the ground as long as possible. But for people that live in warmer climates, they have a much longer growing season, and I actually use them in my landscaping. They're a really pretty ground cover with really rich green leaves that are also edible and little purple flowers that are pretty. The drawback is the deer around here also like my sweet potatoes, but it didn't really damage the underground crop. They just ate all the greens and got on my nerves. A fence would fix it, but that's my take on growing sweet potatoes. If you have a little bit of space, I would try and grow them because they're pretty ground cover, and you get something edible at the end that requires very little maintenance. Other plants, yes, some plants are very high maintenance. Sweet potatoes, I've never had, for me, they are not as much trouble as other plants that I grow. And you can get a nice yield out of them. Let's see, okay, this one, ooh, look how pretty this one is. I don't think I see any bruises. Sweet. But again, ooh, that's hard. But again, you do have the option of boiling them for even between 5 and 8 minutes, and it would soften them some. I just choose to get the workout. Okay, because once I get through the first cut, easy enough. And we are almost ready to put these in the oven. And I wish you could smell it. We don't have that technology yet, but I can smell that the other sweet potatoes are almost done. Again, when you put them in a high temperature oven, because sweet potatoes have sugar in them, natural sugars, they caramelize, and you can just, well, at least I can smell the difference as that happens. And you will too once you get more used to it. Okay, last step. I'm going to put just a little bit of grapeseed oil, a neutral oil on them. This is optional, but it will help them brown on the outside. And do not, under any circumstances, salt them before you put them in the oven. If you salt them before, then osmosis starts happening and you end up with really mushy, soggy fries. So to get the crisp on the outside, soft on the inside, you salt at the end. So about a teaspoon of olive oil, and I've had the best success, and if I change my technique, I'll let y'all know, because I do that from time to time if I find something works better. Putting just a little bit, about a teaspoon, into my gloved hand, rubbing my gloves around, and I'm going to do the orange ones first because the purple will get onto the orange. I'm going to rub the fries, spread them out. I just want a little bit of it's not olive oil, grapeseed oil on each of the fries, and then spreading them out so they get maximum surface area exposure to the heat. And the grapeseed oil, because the grapeseed specifically, because it is high temperature tolerant and it is neutrally flavored. You could also use coconut oil if you have it on hand. There's other vegetable oil blends that are available for that. Basically, if you can fry with it, it would work for this. I would not use olive oil because olive oil is not as happy at high temperatures. I would not use peanut oil for the same reason, and also the flavor issues. But again, the oils that I keep in the house, I have a little bit of sesame oil for when I'm trying to get an Asian flavor. And then I keep grapeseed oil in a big bottle, olive oil in a really big bottle, and you've seen my coconut oil when I was making bread. Those are the ones that I keep in the house. And that's also based on food allergy purposes, so it may be different in yours, and that's fine. But I do encourage you, no matter what, to know what you eat and look at what you're buying, read ingredient labels, and just be aware. Just awareness will improve your overall health, and you'll start enjoying your food more because you know more about it. You're more connected to it. All right, let's go. I'm gonna take the gloves off. Let's go check on our sweet potatoes that are in the oven. Yay! Check it out. So, a little bit blistered, caramelizing. That's what I was smelling. I'm gonna take it out and move toward my cooktop, which is doubling as a cooling rack at the moment. And purple ones. These guys are also done. And before I pop the other sweet potatoes in, I'm going to salt these for you really quick, which will involve, I'm getting my hands wet, just slightly damp, and getting just a little bit of water on them. If you have a squirt bottle handy, you can use that as well, but spray bottles grow legs in my house, so we use this technique. This is my finishing salt blend, which for me is Himalayan pink, Hawaiian pink, and just plain sea salt combined. Go up high. You get the best distribution for flavor purposes when you go high. And it does not take much. And I'm just moving them around slightly. You can use a spatula for this. I'm barely touching them because they're still pretty hot. Now over here, high. Not much. Now, if you have been put on a low sodium diet by your doctor or you have high blood pressure, don't salt the French fries, they'll be fine. They taste really good. They have more flavor than regular potatoes because they're sweet potatoes. All right, so these guys are good. I would let them cool for about 3 minutes before you eat them. Let's get our other sweet potatoes in the oven and set a timer. My oven is preheated if you're using convection to about 410. If you are not using convection, you want to go to 420. Above 420, and you check check your parchment paper, but most parchment papers are good to 420 degrees, and above that they can catch fire. I did test that and they do. So, I was wondering. So, one more pan. They are going into a hot oven. One of the advantages of julienning your potatoes before you put them in, if I put these in as a whole potato to roast, they take a lot longer to cook. They're huge. So, in we go. And these are gonna roast for about, I would check them after 20 minutes. And check them then, and they may need to go for 25. That's gonna vary a little bit in your oven. We want this at the end. If they're purple, we want them to look like this. If they're orange, we want them to look like this. And the more evenly you get them sized, the more evenly they're gonna cook. Hence the julienning process. So, setting my timer for 20 minutes. And there we go. Good luck with your sweet potato fries. If you have any questions or comments, post pictures. I want to see you. All right, thank you.